Alright guys, I hope you're all doing well, and welcome to the showdown between the Vampire Coast and Slaanesh. It's going to be myself with Count Noctilus facing off against Subutai, who's going to be rocking the classic Sigvald, certainly very, very strong. And we're going to be on Borderlow Landing, so a little bit of cannon potential, but Slaanesh I think is a little bit too fast and furious to try and bring artillery against. They can get back there and swarm you, so we're going to be trying to meet them head on. So front line's going to be zombie deckhand mobs. You don't really have too many other choices, but you know, on the bright side of things, deckhand mobs do have 12,000 HP, which is pretty insane for only 300 gold. So it's not the worst trade in the world. Bombers in the secondary row to give a little bit of DPS. Animated Hulks in the deep reserve because they're cheap, armor piercing, and ironically, despite Slaanesh being known for its mobility and demons and speed and things like that, they're actually one of the best armored factions in the game. So you have to bring a bunch of AP against them. Now, this is my favorite element about Vampire Coast. If you guys are aspiring Vampire Coast players and tournament player competitive, I highly recommend Mourngul Hunters. They're super underrated. Very, very resilient with their almost 7k HP. They heal passively in combat and are really excellent at gooning foot characters and just armor in general. So we got two of those bad boys. Give it a try. You won't regret it. And Count Noctilus is going to be rocking Pit of Shades and Invo. Summons are okay here. Summons are a little bit better, I would say, in a land battle situation, but Pit of Shades to nuke down the Chaos Warrior Hell Scourges, I think is an absolute must. So that's it for my build, and for Subutai's build here, he's going to be rocking the forces of Slaanesh, so it's just mass Chaos Warriors with Sigvald. We do have a Chaos Sorcerer of Slaanesh with the two cheap spells, so the reason why is you spam Acquiescence and Lash, and that's going to be giving your entire army the Blissful Rapture. Did he forget to bring it? He might have actually, which would have been a pretty big downside for sure. I think he did. But normally that would buff your entire army and be very good. But, you know, you can get away without it. The Slaanesh boys do very, very well. Cultists on the far side, and we do have the Devoted Marauders of Slaanesh with Hell Scourges and Devoted Warriors here, with the Cultists going to be doing some split pushing. So this was actually a game in which I had played Slaanesh the game before against his Coast, and we both felt that it was just so brutal for Coast to deal with the armor push. So we were kind of going back and forth on experimenting on how you could potentially win this matchup with Coast. So this is my attempt at beating Slaanesh with Coast here. Hopefully you guys enjoy it, and let's see how this one unfolds. So fast forward as the armies move up, and one of our first columns is going to be the Arwar Depth Guard, which do have armor piercing and good sustainability and healing in combat. So I'm like, hey, those Bloody Reaver Depth Guard on the side point might be able to beat the brakes off the split pushing, because we found this Slaanesh split push was very good against Coast. So we got the Warriors and the Marauders moving out, and now the mainline fighting is active. So we go in for a little bit of a goon right away, which is pretty funny. We get some beatdown on the Chaos Sorcerer here, and now the Mourngul Hunters just going to be bouncing around and getting their big scary Vampire Claws after a couple of units here. Lash of Slaanesh going down. I think it was a bit of a misclick there, which was pretty hilarious. Just like a super rough start, right? But overall, Bomber mobs getting in there, doing a little bit of friendly fire damage. Split pushing here, quite scary. Depth Guard pole arms will be going after Devoted Marauders, and the basic Haggard deckhand mobs will be trying to fight off Marauders as well. As we call in more reinforcements, it's going to be Hulks and pole arms, and we know we got to secure that back point. Granted, the middle does belong to us, and a huge Pit of Shades going to be going down right now. All hail the mighty, baby. That's going to be a nasty Pit of Shades. Going to be a ton of damage against those, as our Mourngul Hunters continue causing a bit of disruption for sure. Now, we're up in value, but the power of Slaanesh, it's funny, you think they would be Alpha Strike, where they would get up on value quickly, but no, Slaanesh really starts to shine in the long grind. They're very like Nurgle-esque in that regard here, as the zombie pirate bomber mobs do try and pull back. Lash of Slaanesh going down, which normally would trigger the lore passive, but he did forget it, so obviously that would be very strong. Devoted Marauders is going to be swarming from the sides, and here we do have our Bloody Reaver Depth Guards, who do manage to isolate the Cultists of Slaanesh, and their stats are amazing. I mean, they have 62 melee attack on a Halberd, so I think that is a pretty nice utility piece against both large and small here because of how good their stats are. So the Cultist is going to go down, and with the animated Hulks heading to the side, we should be able to get this one under control here. And now one of our first columns is going to be Saltlord Scuttlers in the backfield to go after the Devoted Marauders. We're being afflicted by the Bombers. Count Noctilus trying to screen the advance of these Devoted Marauders, but it looks like they're going to get on top of my Bombers, which does suck. Noctilus in a duel of fates versus Sigvald. Noctilus would probably lose this duel. Sigvald heals and has better combat stats and does have a debuffing aura, but he does not stand alone. It's the Avengers moment. They come through the portal. Mourngul Hunter is going to be slapping up Prince Sigvald, and you know, I was surprised at how much damage they were doing against Sigvald. So a lot of my zombies starting to wither on the middle objective. I do have some on the sides, but you notice a little bit of crumbling across the board here. Bomber Bats, really good. Saltlord Scuttlers are a top tier unit. They do have armor sundering, so when they bombard something, they lower its armor down and makes them a pretty excellent piece against armored units and chaff as well. So in the back objective, looks like we're finally going to wrestle it. We do get our Bloody Reaver Depth Guard to chase those Haggard Marauders into the bushes. So the Bloody Reavers will be pulling back over towards Objective 2 here in a moment, and realizing that this is bait and I need them in the middle because the middle is starting to flip a little bit. You can see the objective capture weight going down here. Devoted Marauders going to be swarming in from the sunsets. Meanwhile, my call-ins, I'm saving up, and I was saving up, I believe, for Lamprey's Revenge, figuring having a big sustainable Crabbo in the middle would be good. But who would have thought, like, Sigvald would be dying to Vampire Coast? Like, that is not something you would expect, right? But these Mourngul Hunters are raid bosses, dude, and they heal. You don't really have to babysit them too much. Obviously, if you leave them in spears, you're going to have a pretty bad time. But the middle objective does flip to Slaanesh. A lot of my capture weight is dying pretty quickly here, my bomber mobs, and it's really mainly my Hulks, but that's the crazy thing about Hellscourge Warriors, is they're basically good against everything. If you get a Mourngul, a basic Mourngul unit, and put it against a Hellscourge Warrior, it's probably going to lose because of their poison and how good their melee defense is, right? So big fat Pit of Shades going down here. That was a pretty erect one. It did hit some Devoted Marauders, 2 units if I'm not mistaken, that were trying to protect Sigvald there. So we immediately break 2 of those Marauders off. And the old Vampire Coast trying to hang in there. Sirene's being called in. Terror Route's not super good here, but I figured I needed fast capture weight. And in theory, they should be good against Chaos Warriors. They do armor-piercing damage, they debuff stats, and, you know, Slaanesh does have magic damage, but most Slaanesh players don't really bring the demons outside of the ROR Exalted Demonettes, which are pretty easy to spot on the way in. You can usually avoid them with Sirenes. So still trying to duke it out here. Mourngul Hunters doing it. And the old Saltler Scuttlers, I did blunder and send them into melee combat when they ran out of ammo. The proper play would have been to unsummon them and get a partial refund, but it's all good. Not the end of the world here. A little bit of a mistake, but we'll see if the old Halberds are going to be able to get this one back. So Bloody Reavers are on their way in, but nice fascination there. Narcissism does snare them in place. I do lose my charge bonus. I do pop Enrage in response to this, and I'm hoping that they're going to be able to grind through some of these warriors here and get the job done. But Demonettes of Slaanesh were summoned in, and they were summoned over here. They don't have too much time left, but this is going to be a very devastating play. Demonettes are really good at armor piercing, so they get that nice rear charge. They get their devastating flanker, charge bonus augmentation, and now my Depth Guard are going to be in a very, very bad situation. So that little play right there started to change the momentum a lot. You know, I was up in value for a while, but immediately Subutai starts to farm some heavy value on these Bloody Reaver Depth Guards. And yes, I do have healing on my roster. My opponent does not really have too much healing outside of Sigvald, but you can see my infantry corps really, really struggling to deal with the Slaanesh width. We have a summon to the backfield deckhand mob from Count Noctilus to block up these Marauder Horsemen using his Wrath's Moondial, and we're going to be desperately trying to get this point back because we're pretty behind on points. It is a double cap situation here. Sirenes were able to clear out these Devoted Marauders. Unfortunately, Slaanesh is immune to Terror Routes, so terror-causing units aren't super strong against them. Call-ins here are going to be some big Lampreys. I figured I need to get that disgusting blob, just like the Mourngul Hunters and Count Noctilus, and try and get the reins of this game back. Bloody Reaver Depth Guard unfortunately do end up going down to the Chaos Warriors and Sigvald as well as the Cultist. And my last zombie mob here is going to be paying the Troll Toll as well. Over on the side objective, still a little bit of fighting going down, but it looks like the boys are able to get the job done there. Meanwhile, up on the high ground, or I should say the southwest side of the battlefield, if you look at the minimap, I do try and get my old Sirenes here, but now I'm realizing how bad of a pick Sirenes are because of Fascination. It's the Slaanesh-bound army ability, which just does magic damage and rampages them, so it was pretty brutal. It just honestly got them to the point of almost crumbling here. But Crabs have arrived, and they should be pretty stalwart here in combat. I believe I do have some invos, and now we're going to be going for a little bit of character gooning. So I get my 2 Mournguls, and I start hunting down the Chaos Sorcerer of Slaanesh here. We're going to be getting some big, scary claws, going after the beast if we can. Noctilus in the meantime still grinding. He's basically the undead Sigvald. Very, very tough to kill. And additional call-ins are going to be Saltlord Scuttlers and Animated Hulks for myself to help clear things out. Demonettes for old Subutai on the other side, which I don't hate. I like Demonettes as like a quick reserve capture weight, kind of, you know, hard. I mean, Coast doesn't have like super hard-hitting melee outside of Depth Guard, and Depth Guard would be a very inefficient trade into Demonettes also, so I do like that call-in here from Subutai. They still have some niche applications, just a little bit overpriced, really. So Chaos Sorcerer of Slaanesh is going to be getting hunted by the old Mourngul Hunter, so they're going to be bashing that bad boy down. And we do see the Mourngul Hunter is going to be on the run. No, they get it. Yeah, man, that Chaos Sorcerer getting bashed by those Mourngul Hunters. And Sigvald's going to be next up on the menu. Here, the Lamprey's Revenge. Holding it down, but a little bit of a scary fight. You can see how effective these Hellscourge Warriors are. They're just absolutely nuts. A little bit of bombardment play on the side as the Saltlord Scuttlers do attempt to take down the Horsemen, some of the natural predators to them. Going to be running away from these Demonettes, trying to go after Sigvald if we can, and continuing to just get that press up. On the back objective, a little bit scary. We do get Devoted Marauders as well as the Hulks trying to duke it out to see who's going to be owning this objective. Deckhand Mob Zombies with their 8,000 remaining HP will do their best, but calling over more animated Hulks. I could lose this objective for sure. With the cultists here, the cultists of Slaanesh are not bad fighters, and I don't know if they have any like debuffs or anything. No, just the summon. So yeah, probably going to be losing that objective at the end of the day, and no pressure on objective 3 over towards the middle. I was kind of desperate here, going for the kills, and it looks like there's going to be a fascination going down on something here. There was some sort of witchcraft, and it looks like, nope, nothing like that. It was an invo, and we're going to be going for the kill on Sigvald. So it's very weird to have like this crazy good Vampire Coast like foot character squad actually like methodically taking out these very durable Chaos characters. Now I'm massively behind in value at this point. Granted, if you do take in the healing for the Mourngul Haunters as well as several invocations, passive healing on my Lamprey's Revenge, which unfortunately are probably going to go down here, the Demonette's actually doing some substantial damage to them. The value isn't as brutal as it may look. So Scurvy Dog, Desperation. I know I just need capture weight here. I'm trying my best not to lose this point, but the animated Hulks are starting to go down here. Undead Crumbling, withering them away. More Hulks going to be arriving, Hulk Smash, and I should be able to stabilize this point here. It looks like with the Doggos coming in, an additional Doggo is going to be getting called in. We might be able to hold this one down. Granted, Subutai does respond with some very fast capture weight of his own. The Hellstriders of Slaanesh with Hellscourge is going to be moving in. But at the end of the day, they won't be like super amazing in sustained combat, and I do get a bit of a rear surround. So I pull the Scurvy Dogs around, and I will be rear charging those guys in just a moment. Now back on the middle, our Death Star is not doing terribly. Count Noctilus and the animated Hulks fighting it out. Lamprey's Revenge still regenerating, and Sigvald looks like he's on death's bed. He's like, help me, I'm too weak. These giant inflatable armed men. And they get in. Will Sigvald go down? Sigvald goes down to the Mourngul Haunters, it looks like. Yeah, 161. He's broken. He's for sure going to get slapped up here. And there he goes. So down goes Sigvald and the caster. So that was a weird turn of events. I was like, holy shit, do I have a chance in this game? Am I going to come back? We killed Sigvald. That's going to be tanking the leadership of the entire army here. You can see the rear charge from the Doggos not doing bad damage. Animated Hulks holding back the warriors with a little bit of zombie support. And now I'm going to be swarming the middle and also going for a back cap as well. So we have a zombie powered Jackhand mobs heading to the back objective. I know I need to win all 3 to really get this game going, so that's going to be the plan. Mourngul Haunters coming back to the middle here, going to be slapping up these Chaos Warriors from the back. But man, the fact that these Chaos Warriors are immune to psychology is so incredibly strong. Slaanesh is honestly a pretty good faction. I think they're one of the mono gods that, like, you know, aside from the ones that have gotten DLC, like, they feel really steady to play. If you just go Sigvald and a caster and like a super wide warrior army and just use your mobility to hit and run where needed, like, they're a pretty good faction. Pretty damn good. So Mourngul Haunters still clawing away. Looks like some javelin fire coming down here as the zombie powered Jackhand mobs move up. On the backside, we got zombie polearms heading to the side point out of desperation, while the Saltlord Scuttler is going to be trying to clear out whatever they can. Backside looks good for us, though. At the end of the day, it looks like the Dogs and Halberds and animated Hulks were able to win the grind against the forces of the Dark Gods. But the question is, am I going to be able to get the middle? Because this is rapidly becoming a triple cap situation. So you can see the zombies. I don't know if they'll even get there in time. They're so incredibly slow. The zombies do have 23 speed, which is just absolute potato speed, absolute potato seed. Saltlord Scuttlers thrown away against the old Devoted Marauders, doing nice damage. So far, their value this game has been about 1,200. This is their second life, and they cost about 750. So far, I would say they've been doing well. Slaanesh, even leaderless and without magic, still just proving to be valiant warriors in combat as these Devoted Marauders and these Hellscourge boys applying that poison and that sustained DPS, really problematic. But thankfully, we're going to be getting some cap weight there. More animated Hulks coming. But Subutai using his speed and sneaky Slaanesh tactics to play the back objective. And I do like this a lot. I think it's good because the back objective is very tenuous. Like, I barely have a hold on it. And if he's able to get some full health infantry here, including Chaos Warriors with Hellscourges, that's going to be dicey. So on the back point, we do get some Scurvy Dogs to steal the back point, and it looks like he has not noticed it, or maybe just hasn't responded to it yet. Maybe he did notice it. In the middle, Count Noctilus trying to fight it out with the old, what are those things, Mourngul Hunters. You don't see them often, so my brain was having to kind of do some loops to figure out what that was. But they're fighting pretty well here, and overall, the point looking okay. The Chaos Warriors of Slaanesh and the Devoted Marauders getting worn down, but I just don't think I'm going to get it. The Chaos Warriors arriving to my back point, peeling off from the middle, and able to get it done probably. And Slaanesh Chaos Warriors are pretty resilient. Not resilient, but speedy. They do have 33 speed, whereas most Chaos Warriors, I think, are a little bit slower. So they get that point. We do ninja the back point, which is a nice little grab for us. And the animated Hulk's going to be fighting it out over the middle, which looks like it's good for us. Pretty much a complete Slaanesh break. So if we had a couple more minutes, despite the value discrepancy, like our army sizes or I guess army power is decent, we might be able to get something going, but I think that he's just got too much of a value lead in tandem with having the points lead. And I'm going to be fighting it out here, trying my best to get this done. We do manage to flip the middle objective, and we have the back objective. A couple zombies do arrive to that point, which will give us a little bit of cap weight there. So you can see if it was a little bit closer on points, I might have a chance to get this one back as we do start to wrestle this also, but it's just going to be too little too late. But overall, I was very happy with the attempt. And the couple of times we did try it, we did find that Coast was just getting smashed over and over. But one thing to note is that he did not bring the Slaanesh lore passive, which would have made the beatings even worse. So I think that wasn't the most accurate metric, but still got to show you guys the strength of the Mourngul Haunters and how good they can be. Noctilus was great, and there was many elements of the build that did good. I did bring a Death Rate too, which I wanted to try, but I think that would have been stupid considering they're immune to psychology, so the Terror Route would have been pretty wasted. But yeah, I think the build was good. What would I change in retrospect? I'd probably keep would I cut the bomber mobs? Maybe, yeah, cut this. Maybe go more depth guard heavy. I wonder how they would do. I'm really not sure. Or no, Solastra on a crab with a healer. Damn Knight's Errant summon. Yeah, that's the way to do it. All right, guys, we'll try it again one of these days, and I'll upload it. And well played to Subutai. Champion as always. Good objective play, and we'll see you guys on the other side.